let's talk about the worst parts of living in the Seattle area.
But are there any?
I mean, I do love living out here. You do too. I mean, you don't really know any different.
I have lived in other places in the world for sure.
Other places in the world? Okay. Where in the world have you lived?
Okay, so worldwide, Cleveland is a different place in the world.
Oh my God.
Cleveland is a total, if you're from the Midwest, I've been there with you. If you're from the South, Tennessee,
yeah,
I've been there with you.
Yeah, but you were so young. You really only know Seattle.
I've been there with you.
Okay.
Let's go best to worst.
Okay.
Well, they're all bad, but
let's go lead up to the number one worst part of living here.
Okay. And I think that the thing that people think of the most when you're thinking about moving to Seattle is the weather.
The weather, yeah. I was actually just DMing with someone on Instagram who reached out and said, oh, we're moving from Tennessee to Seattle, but I'm so curious about all the smoke that you guys have. And that's become a new normal for us with weather, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. Do you consider that weather, the smoke?
I mean, atmosphere, environment, I don't know.
Maybe.
Let's just lump it all together, okay?
Okay, so we do have this new thing, and it's not even on our list, the smoke, is it?
No. So maybe let's start with rain.
Super organized today. But people, so okay, you're moving to Seattle. Year is 2009. Were you worried about the weather?
I mean, yes, you always hear about how rainy it is out here, but we've said in other videos before, Seattle isn't actually even in the top 10 rainiest cities in the US. But I grew up in the Midwest where the weather conditions are super harsh, right? Like the winters, you have really heavy snow. It's freezing cold for months and months and months. And then in the summer, it's so hot and humid, you don't even want to be outside. So I think I was looking forward to having mild temperature.
And you've liked it so far?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But I mean, the rain you always say it. What's so tough about it?
I don't think it's the rain. It's just the dark, gloomy, gray days. Right?
Yeah.
So if you've got any depression in your world, it will make you more depressed.
Yeah, this is a tough place. So many people have those sun lamps at their office or at their house to help them take vitamin D, all that kind of stuff. But it's rainy when?
So, okay, we have so today, I don't know when you're watching this video, but today is October 20th, 2022. Is that right?
Yeah.
Do we have the right day?
Yep.
And it's still relatively clear out. It's about 70 degrees.
Yeah.
2 days ago, it was 80 degrees.
Which, that's not always normal though.
But see, this is the stuff I'm talking about here. The weather's not as bad as you think. From my birthday, July 5th,
yep,
through early October, the weather's great. So
yeah,
how many months is that?
Let's see, July, August, September, October, 4 months.
So you got 4 months of really good weather.
It is. Our summers are so gorgeous. And people say it all the time. Because summers are so beautiful out here, you forget about the rainy gloom that we have the rest of the year.
So you don't get those, if you're from the South, if you're from anywhere else but the Northwest, we don't get those crazy downpours typically, right?
No.
If you're in Michigan or Florida, you get those crazy downpours. We don't get that. It's more like a drizzle.
Which I actually miss. I love a good thunderstorm. A Midwest thunderstorm is the best. We never get thunderstorms out here.
So you don't get a ton of thunderstorms, but it's just gray in the bad time of the year, which starts today. Let's just say October. It's not starting today, but let's say sometime in October through March is when it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
Right? And then it starts getting better, meaning it's in the 60s.
Yeah.
You can golf a lot more.
Yeah. There'll be a little sporadic sunshine.
And then it starts getting warmer, but it's really probably 4 months.
Yeah.
Is that 4 months?
Yeah, it's 4 months.
Ish. We can't count.
For great weather.
Just gray weather. Yeah.
Okay, next on the list, and this is actually a big one, and people can see it as a political thing.
Number 4.
But I don't know, it just is what it is. Our homeless population is out of control.
So if you live in the Bay Area,
yeah,
which I never have, but I have a cousin of mine who owns a sandwich shop in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And walking around by his sandwich shop, there's homeless people everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's way worse than Seattle. But if you've been in Seattle for a long time, it's just continuing to get worse.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about when you see the homeless issue that we have, it's really in the Seattle,
downtown Seattle.
Downtown Seattle. It's not, so we live in this Kirkland, we've said it in a lot of our videos, Kirkland, East Side, Bellevue, you really don't see
a lot of it, at all.
But I mean, honestly, I could picture maybe one homeless person I see on the East Side every few months.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot.
Seattle, it's everywhere. And, we've got tent cities all over the place. At every exit off the freeway, there's tents everywhere. It's become kind of dirty. It's an issue, and that's an issue that every political person running for office in our area, that's like always top of the list, is like, how do we fix the homeless situation? I don't know what the answer is. We're not going to get into politics right now, but it is for sure a big issue with Seattle.
Yeah, and especially if you live on the Seattle side. So for like going back to kind of real estate stuff. So if we have clients that have lived on the Seattle side, there's a big lake, Seattle side. And a lot of the reason once they have families, they want to move to the east side is to get away from that. They want their kids in a good school system and getting away from the homeless.
Yeah. Okay, third on the list, which is what we talk about all the time, cost of living.
It's crazy expensive.
It's really expensive to live here.
So crazy expensive meaning, I remember I had we bought a house, how many years ago? The house down the street here.
Oh gosh.
8 years ago?
Yeah.
Let's say 8 years ago. And we bought it in Kirkland for $500,000. And I remember the guy who sold it to us, who we knew pretty well.
Yep.
He was like, I'm going to sell it to you, but it's never going to be worth that much. Like, you should not buy this house, is what I said. And in my opinion, being in the industry, I think every house in Kirkland is going to be $1 million very soon.
Yep.
And we're way past that now in Kirkland. But it is very expensive. So if you're moving from Midwest, think about your sister.
Yeah.
So
she could never afford to live out here, ever.
But they bought how big's their house?
About a little under 3,000 square feet.
Under 3,000 plus a massive finished basement now.
Yep.
Which is over 4,000 square feet, right?
Yeah. Huge yard.
They live on like an acre.
Yeah.
Right? And they paid, I have no idea.
It was like $225 or something.
Is that $225?
$225,000. No joke. You can't get anything out here for $225,000.
You can't pour, as we're building this house, you can barely build. You can't even pour your foundation. Our dirt work cost $100,000.
Yeah.
Right? So little build a whole. So people that are moving out here, I think it's sticker shock if you're moving from the middle of the country.
Yeah.
But if people that are moving from like the Bay Area they're like,
or New York.
Yeah, they're like, wow, it's kind of cheap out here.
Yeah.
Which it's not.
It's not at all. It's expensive. You may have heard of this before. It's called the Seattle Freeze.
Okay. If you don't know what the Seattle Freeze is, it's basically if you move to town, everybody already has their groups of cliques and friends and all that, and it's hard to get in them, and you're ghosted out, right?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, and so enough? I could probably speak more to an experience on this because I moved from somewhere else. Basically, how people describe it is like in the Seattle area, so many people grow up here, they go to University of Washington, they stay here for work, and so everyone already has their specific group of friends, right? They have no need to go out and find new friends because they've got built-in friends from growing up. And so people say it's really hard to make new friends. I didn't necessarily have that issue, but I think it's also changed over time because we have so many transplants in this area now.
If I think about it, I think you're 100% right. Like, I don't think the Seattle Freeze is what it was, even when you moved here. Yeah. I think it was probably in the 90s, it was a big deal. Early 2000s, it was a big deal. But now, think about our neighborhood. I would, based on the people we run into our neighborhood, I would say there's 41 homes. I would say 38 are people that moved to the area. Yeah. So everybody, from my experience, everybody's looking to make friends.
Yeah.
People are outside with their kids. They're like, hey, you want to have a beer date?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I guess an arm of that is kind of a factor is as someone who moved from the Midwest, where Midwest, I love the people in the Midwest. We're just good people, aren't we? Friendly, you'll invite anybody over, you'll talk about anything, you're chatty, whatever. People aren't necessarily like that out here. They're a little more keep to themselves, a little more heads down. And so you're not going to get the friendliness that you get in the Midwest, but that could be true also for California and New York and whatnot. So
yeah, there's definitely a different type of personality of people that stick around and live here.
Yeah.
And not everybody loves it, but I think because of all the positives that we're not talking about, this is a negative video. This is super negative.
Yeah, this is not negative. I don't know. The number one worst part of living in Seattle is, Jason.Mesnick,
the freaking traffic.
Traffic.
So you haven't gone to a regular, so if you've followed Molly and her world, what is it?
My career?
Career? No, your worldly experience.
Okay.
She was a radio host for about 7 years before she got into real estate. So the last 10 years, she hasn't commuted.
Wait a minute. Yes, I have. Do you remember before radio, I worked in downtown Seattle?
That's before the 10 years. That's what I'm saying. For the last 10 years, you haven't been.
Okay.
So you go back to the time before that.
Yeah.
And if you're going to commute, and I know we're not in New York, so you're not sitting in the subway for an hour going both ways or each way.
Yeah.
And you're not in LA sitting in traffic for an hour and a half each way. But think about, we just hired some new brokers on our team.
Yep.
And he had to go back from Kirkland, where our office is, to Seattle. And it was he was leaving at 4 o'clock, so not even rush hour. And he said it was 45 minutes, and he almost lost his mind.
Yeah, I know. And that 45 minutes is to go like 13 miles.
Yeah. So there's two big bottlenecks, right? So and I know, I keep on explaining. There's the lake that's kind of in the middle of the Seattle area called Lake Washington. And then there's the Seattle side, which has I-5. And on the east side, on the other side of the lake, has 405, which basically runs parallel, kind of, to each other.
Yeah.
And both of those suck.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're trying to get through downtown, or like the bottleneck on the east side, which I think, and I should look this up, like that east side through Bellevue on 405 has been ranked one of the top 5 worst intersections in the country.
Yeah.
I'm not making this up.
But even think about, like, if you drive down south to Tacoma, that is a nightmare down there.
I told you it was number 1.
Yeah, traffic is really bad, and we don't have great public transportation. People do take the bus system. They're working on a light rail, which should help a little bit.
Wait, the light rail is going to help a lot.
Yeah, but it's bad.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're moving here from New York, which we have some clients coming in town to move here from New York, coming this weekend to look, and if you're used to public transportation where you're like, I'm just going to get on the red line or the yellow or blue, whatever line you're on, like you can get around and go pretty quick.
Yeah.
We haven't had that, but the infrastructure has been built for years and years, and we're close, but the traffic still sucks.
Yeah.
That's my number 1.
Okay, so weather, the homeless, cost of living, Seattle freeze, and public transportation. 5 things that are maybe a downside of Seattle, but you know what I'm going to say? All the good stuff of Seattle totally outweighs that.
But that's not what this video is about. It's about the negative.
Doom and gloom.
Yep. It's all over, but you should still move here. That's it for today.